Hello, and welcome to Mistborn Era 2, beginning with the Alloy of Law. Before getting too far, this video will be about the characters from the Alloy of Law, so you'll want to have read the Alloy of Law before watching this because spoilers. I'm going to start with Wax, because the book starts with Wax. He's the main character. We see the most of him. We see the most of his trauma and his struggles through this book. I don't know if I'll say that we saw a lot of his growth. He does have to challenge himself and overcome some stuff through the book, but rather than being about the growth of a character, it's almost more like having to embrace who he already is or find himself again after his trauma. This is not a young person coming of age story. This is a adult man who is experienced and competent, and in some ways is very set in his ways. Wax has recently come back from living in the roughs. A rough place to live. It should be harder to live in the roughs than it is to live where he does now, among modern civilization and modern conveniences. But Wax is feeling like living in the city is the hardest time in his life. He's not out there hunting criminals or being shot at by them, but I think there's a couple reasons why he feels like his life right now in the city is so hard. The first and biggest one is that he has lost his love. He is dealing with deep grief and trauma. Not only did he lose her, he is blaming himself for what he did, for his own mistake. He is supposed to be so good. He is one of the best, but he still messed up. He still was the cause of the death of the person he loved the most. So once he gets back from the roughs to the city, this is a huge thing to have to deal with, and he's not talking about it. He's not allowing anyone else to help him bear this burden. He's holding it all in. And the second reason is something a lot more mundane, but also relatable to just probably almost everyone, and that is that he has to go back to work. But it's not the work that he was doing in the roughs. He has to go back to the job that he didn't really want. And there is a big distinction between following your passion versus the job that you have to do that you can't get out of. He is feeling stuck there. Also, your work doesn't care about your grief. All the little things that he has to do as Lord Waxillium aren't gonna wait. He had zero time to try to heal from his grief before he just had to jump in to this new job and this new life. A new job that he's not passionate about, a huge life change with a huge, deep and raw pain inside. I felt like I could really feel for him, and not even that far into the book yet. This is a character I can already care about. I kind of wish that this book would have gone a little deeper into the religions. That was kind of a big part of Mistborn Era 1, with Sazed doing his studying and trying to convert people and offering up a religion for them to choose from or to help them. And now in this modern era, there are a lot of those religions as options, and Wax is religious to a certain degree. He has something that he believes in, he prays, and when he is really struggling, he offers up his prayer. But he doesn't feel like he gets a real solid answer. He feels like he gets this sense of encouragement, a feeling of don't give up. And the feeling that he was getting reminds me of a verse in the Bible, which I am sure that Mr. Sanderson is aware of, considering his own religious background, which is don't grow weary of doing good. I feel like that verse directly applies to Wax in this instance. The feeling of keep going, don't give up. You might feel tired of doing what I, the Lord, want you to do, and Wax's life path has changed dramatically, but what he's doing is still important. He still feels like the God, Harmony, still has a mission for him and a path for him, and is trying to encourage him to keep going. even if Wax himself is not completely sure about what that might be. He can guess and he can pursue it and he can devote himself to it. For most of the book, I'm not sure I can honestly say that I cared much about Wayne. He felt a little bit too much like a caricature. I've read enough Sanderson books at this point that there is always that one character who has to point out the ironic, humorous, always has the wordplay, never takes things seriously, always has some interesting quirk about him. But I could tell that Wayne cares about his job, he cares about people, and he cares about Wax. And when you have a character that really cares passionately about something, it does help you care about the character. And I did start to care more about him over the course of the book. And Steris. She is barely in the book, but from the very beginning, first meeting her, I did like her. I felt like I could understand her. She is smart. She is strong. She has the best interests of her family at heart. She knows what needs to be done and she is willing to do it. She may not feel super excited about marrying Wax, but she thinks it's best for her family, and so she's doing what she can to do the best job of it she can. And to me, it seems really obvious that she has high-functioning anxiety, but she's aware enough of this that she has things that she does to help herself. The way that she plans things to the minutest detail. She basically plans out a script, including topics of conversation, and she gets upset when the plan or the script aren't followed. She is working for her family's good, and despite her anxiety, she is doing what needs to be done, which to me shows that Steris is brave, and the lists and the plans and trying to take control of a situation are like her armor that she puts on to go and do what needs to be done. So I admire her, and I hope that Wax also comes to admire her later as well. Back to Wax. He has a lot to go through in this book. He has a lot to face. He is terrified of causing harm to innocent people. He, pretty obviously, I think, has PTSD from what happened, and that is a hard thing to deal with. He is trying to push through and still do what needs to be done, but it is hard. And he tries really hard to force his own change. The idea of letting the constables handle it is not something that's natural to him. What is natural to him is there's a problem, I go and I fix it. He is used to taking the law into his own hands, and he is definitely afraid. Not the type of everyday anxiety that Steris deals with, but he is terrified after what happened to Lessie of a similar thing happening again. And though he is not used to letting something go and letting other people deal with it, I think that he is justifying in his own mind his inaction. Let the constables deal with it, because his inaction is caused by his own fear, and so he can just tell himself that he is being smart by letting the constables deal with it. It is their job, I'll just let them, but really he's letting them because he is so afraid of acting, because it was by his action that something terrible happened. He's not sure he can trust himself. And would it even make sense for him to go chasing criminals when there's constables in this town? Out in the roughs, there's no constables. He was basically the constable. Now he's not. But he is very firmly faced with the results of his inaction when the girls, including Steris, get taken. He sat back. He told himself, no, this isn't your problem. This isn't your job. You don't have to do it. And Wax is witness to the old retired Peteris. I'm going to say Peteris. The old retired Peteris is the only one to stand up to the bandits. And he gets shot, and Wax and Wayne let loose. There had to be something to incentivize Wax to just let go and do what he is good at. And Wayne was just waiting for that. And then you get to see the coolness of their partnership, how well they know each other, and how well they work together. I have read online people talking about how much they love that Wax and Wayne relationship, and I'm starting to see just how much. I've only read The Alloy of Law so far. I'm looking forward to reading the next couple, partly because I think we'll get to see deeper into their friendship and their background and history together. At least I hope so. And poor Marcy, not sure I'm saying her name right either. Oh well. Wax recognizes her attractiveness, not quite attracted to her, not yet anyway, but she idolizes Wax and Wayne. They represent all the things that she has been studying, she's been learning about, she's been working towards in her life. They are the epitome of awesomeness to her. So I don't know how much she is actually attracted to Wax the man versus Wax the ideal. She does see him a certain way before getting to know him. She only knows him for a short time, and as she does get to know him more, she doesn't stop being attracted to him. He becomes more of a real person to be attracted to. I think that makes it harder for her. I'm not sure how much more I can say to that relationship without reading the next couple of books. I do like the scene where Wax and Marcy are in the room together philosophizing about their common interests. I think characters or people who are going to take their law into their own hands can't help but have to face the philosophical implications of what they are doing. If they are going to enforce the law to the point of killing people, they will have to confront their place in it all and their reasons for it all. And I liked that it kind of showed them talking about that. So with Wayne, one of his things is that he likes to steal accents. I'm going to say he doesn't actually steal them, because stealing implies I take yours, you don't have it anymore, and now I have what you had. I'm going to say he borrows accents. I will also suggest that maybe it's like he stores accents, like he has a metal mind for them. He can pull them out when he needs them. One of the other things about Wayne that I think is an interesting foil to Wax is that Wayne had a similar experience where an innocent person got killed because of him. By accident. Very tragic thing that happened. He has trauma from this, and he, unlike Wax, will not use a gun now. He refuses. But Wax, having done a similar thing, will still use a gun. I just thought that was kind of an interesting, similar thing that happened that they reacted to in different ways. Part of that, I think, has to do with the age that Wayne was when it happened versus Wax. Incidents like that affect you way harder the younger you are. And Wayne was pretty young when it happened. So we progress through the story. Wax has taken up his old identity of going after the bad guys, but he is struggling with whether he's doing the right thing. Is he really doing what Harmony wants him to do? It's hard to tell. He thought he was doing what Harmony wants, but all he got was a vague impression that he recognizes could be his own confirmation bias. He wants to pick up his guns and go blazing and chase down bad guys and rescue the lady, but he felt so sure that it wasn't just what he wanted, it was what Harmony wanted. But it can be really easy to doubt that the great Lord in the sky that you never get to physically see or hear can really care about you personally and your choices. Luckily, Wax does get a little bit more of an encouragement. He does get a little bit more of a physical confirmation. Hey, there's your chest with your stuff in it. We do get a little bit of that old friend trope between Wax and Miles. They know each other, and Wax is a little afraid of the fact that he can understand Miles and where Miles is coming from. The reasoning that has led Miles from point A to point B, Wax gets it. Problematically, they can anticipate each other really well, and they can always get a step ahead because they know each other so well. They know what the other one is going to do. Up until now, they have basically followed the same rules. Miles feels very justified in what he's doing, partly because of his power. He has powers that make him a little more godlike than your average allomancer. He thinks he's ascending or something. He definitely has a god complex in this story. And I really love where in the final showdown you get to see the strength and the prowess of Wax and Wayne. In some ways you hear more about the legend of Wax and Wayne, more like their stories, but at the end of the book you get to see how awesome they are and how good they are at what they do. So now Wax has his own coat, his own guns, and you know what they say? Look good, feel good. He's dressed the part now. He's reconnected with his old self, with the stuff that he's put on. He has the guns that he's used to, that he can trust, which probably makes him feel more like he can trust himself, trust his purpose. God literally spoke to him, so he is gonna go. And then he is confronted face to face with his trauma again with Marcy, the girl who is so much like Leslie. So he faces it. He doesn't give in, and he pulls off this cool, like, Robin Hood trick shot. Fire the bullet, fire it again, pew! Awesome! And I loved that we got to see Marcy use her supposedly useless power in the final confrontation. You could kind of see the events and the conversations leading up to her getting to use it. I thought it was done in a really cool way. And she has been so into this whole thing. She's getting to pursue her passion with her heroes, and she gets to have a part in saving the day. How cool for her. Not many people get to do that. All right, back to the romance and stuff. We have two sisters who are both kind of into the same guy. And I have to agree with the way Wax is feeling that Steris is probably better for him. And for all the reasons that Wax is mature enough to recognize. He and Marcy have an age difference. They're in different places in their life. Marcy is really similar to Leslie, and that's not what he needs in his life again. He doesn't need another Leslie. As much as he loved her and she was perfect for him, no one can replace her. But also, I think Marcy and Wax are a little too similar to each other, and someone like Steris can help balance him out, and I think they would make a good match. And I've only read the first one, so if you've read all three and you know what happens, if there's some weird love triangle and I'm totally wrong about them, please don't tell me. I'll read and find out. I really like both girls. I really like Steris, even though we barely see her. She recognizes her weaknesses and she is trying really hard to overcome them. So this book ends with obviously more to come, and I'm looking forward to whatever that is. Subscribe to this channel for more fantasy bookish content like this. Let me know what you thought of Wax, Wayne, Marcy, Steris. I'd love to hear what you thought of these characters, and I'll see you next time. Bye!